should police have intervened in the Big Ben protest, and should tax on booze be slashed to save our pubs? With me, Jeremy Vine. Friday, welcome to the show. It is Friday.
Yes, it is, Dave Vine.
20. Friday.
Yay! Friday, Dave Vine.
Morning, welcome to the show. It is Friday.
Yes, it is, Dave Vine.
It's the 23rd of February, and my panel today, I'm delighted to say, is the podcaster Poppy J and broadcaster Mike Parry. Fantastic lineup. This is what's on the show. First up is migration to blame for a housing crisis. Tory MP and former Levelling Up Minister Neil O'Brien says migration after Brexit is making the housing crisis worse, and population growth is pushing up rent. Is he right, or are there other reasons why we're in a housing crisis? And then, should the police have intervened in the Big Ben theme protest at a pro-Palestine rally? Look, words from the river to the sea were projected onto Big Ben. Police were there. They didn't take action. They said no law was broken. Should the police have stopped that controversial phrase being beamed onto Parliament? Then should tax be slashed on booze to save our pubs? Bosses of boozers across the UK are urging the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to consider cutting their tax bills to stop more pubs being forced to shut. 10 a week are closing right now. Should we do this very simple thing where it's cheaper to buy beer in a pub than it is in a supermarket, and then you revive the pubs, and who cares about the supermarket? Then I'll look at some of the stories in the papers and online, including why seeing the same GP each time can make you healthier. Plus the political comedian Matt Chorley is going to be dropping in to tell us all about his brilliant new tour, pole dancer. And Lender Dean Storm is here with Imran Aitan and Lord Kildare Ranger. They're debating if Shamima Begum should be allowed back to Britain. 12:45, Georgie Barrett in for Alexis. Georgie will be finding out what help is available to pay for social care. So loads to get through. We'd love to hear from you. And the former president, maybe the next president, is going to show us how to get in touch. What is the number, Mr. Trump? 020-782-2222. And the thing I need to mention is it's 16p from a landline. In his hair, I think there's a mobile phone. Yes. So mobile phones may be dearer. One more thing. I know there's something else. What is it? Don't forget the social media.
We want to get Dave Vine.
Facebook. We're on TikTok. X, the sewer. Threads, and then also YouTube. So if you go online and you type Jeremy Vine on 5, you will be able to comment on social media, but on YouTube you can watch our best bits. And I think there are going to be loads more today. So I've got that feeling, Poppy, don't you think? Just that it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, no, I've got that feeling.
Yeah, you can't wait for a very long...
Sorry. I'm I genuinely thinking, I wonder what kind of products he uses.
Well, I think the reason is that he had some preventative treatments for prostate, which causes your hair to grow. We know that. So if you have the hormonal treatment that prevents prostate cancer, you have a lot of extra hair.
Right.
So that's how he got it, yeah? So on other matters, the moon landing. This is amazing. So we wake up one morning and they've gone back to the moon, the Americans. I think last time was, what, 69?
Yeah, 72.
72, of course, they started in 69. The US lander, the Odysseus, built by a private company, has successfully touched down closer to the moon's south pole than any other craft. This is a simulation, so this is like somebody...
Oh, Dave Vine. We did that to the moon.
US lander
We were in the
reached the moon in more than 50 years. Since, as Mike says, 1972, the very last NASA Apollo landing. I mean, if this was a British land, that's the NASA.
That's more than
NASA's involved, even though it's private money. If it was a British craft, Poppy, everyone would be saying, how can you land on the moon when we can't get a dentist?
Yes, that's exactly what I'd be saying.
And do you feel that now, even seeing that?
Yes, I do.
It's a waste of money.
I think it's a waste of money. Look, space exploration is great. We need to advance our own scientific knowledge. But I think when you've got so many problems in your own backyard, and often they cost so much money, they usually end up in failures. So, to me, I think that money could be spent elsewhere. And now that it's gone into commercial, the first private commercial company to fly up the moon, it's now, when I'm going to be looking at shareholders and all sorts of, it's going to be very competitive.
Mike?
Well, I don't mind if it's commercial money, because then it's not costing the taxpayer money that goes on other things, which you quite rightly say need to be fixed on Earth.
But we're going to get billionaires up
billionaires up there. And if they're so successful, they make a £140 billion fortune, they can spend it on what they like. But I don't want any taxpayers' money spent on it. The other thing I can't understand is, between 69 and 72, America put 12 men on the moon. It's now taken them about a decade to revive
the clue's in the
program.
name. It's called space because there's nothing there, right? The clue is in the name.
I totally agree. And do you know what I feel even more strongly about? The complete waste of time of trying to get to Mars. You can't land on Mars. What do you want to go to Mars for? Why are you spending billions and billions of pounds sending spaceships to Mars?
I think we have a waste of money as well.
I think it's a complete waste of money.
Do you know my friend David? He went to Mars to deliver a dirty mail.
I don't know, because it was very distressing to see some people trying to see the Titanic, and they go down in what seemed to be like a biscuit tin and just blows up.
And how much money was spent trying to, quite rightly, understandably, save those people, right?
That's exploration. That's the nature of human beings.
Right, but what happens if you get you get a sort of David Bowie, Major Tom situation on the moon with 7 billionaires are trapped up there, and we have to send a rescue party.
You know, that's their situation.
Or you just let them be.
Well, if they choose to do it, they will take the risk. I mean, we'd never have gone to the North Pole or the South Pole if men hadn't gone trekking across Antarctica and the Arctic, would we?
Yeah. But, okay, I've got to confess I would, if someone said, look, do you fancy a trip to the moon, I'd go and have a look. If it was a weekend or something.
If it was free, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Mike has been wound up about something closer to Earth. Mm-hmm. Because you've been reading the Telegraph, and there's a guy in there called Ben Lawrence, and this is all about the new movies. There's 4 movies, quartet, about each Beatle. It's a big old thing. And Ben has said that Ringo Starr was the best Beatle.
Yeah, he said he was the greatest Beatle. And I find that very hard to stomach, because Ringo was a great member of the Beatles, and he was a much better drummer than people gave him credit for. But how you can possibly say he was a greater Beatle than John Lennon or Paul McCartney, and even George Harrison, is nonsense. It's, you know, it's
isn't that what you're saying
is
part of a decades-long discrimination against drummers, which is really serious. They're always overlooked. They're told that they're not playing a proper instrument because it doesn't make notes.
Well, Paul McCartney was apparently a better drummer than Ringo Starr.
Really?
Paul McCartney played on at least 3 hit Beatles singles, including the Ballad of John and Yoko, and he was just as good. But Ringo Starr could never have picked up a bass guitar and played the parts that McCartney played.
Where are you on this, Poppy? It's an important issue.
It's still an important issue to you. My answer is I don't care.
Really? I mean, you don't care about the Beatles?
I mean, I like the Beatles, but I'm not going to go into a big polemic about who is the best.
They changed the world, Poppy. The Beatles changed the world. The Beatles brought down the Berlin Wall. The Beatles stopped the Vietnam War. Okay? They are very important.
I know they're a huge
The Beatles brought down the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall was 1989. The Beatles split up in 1970.
Once Beatles bootleg records started getting across the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall, Russian youth rebelled and said, we're not having this anymore, we're not going to be kept in a prison, and they brought the wall down to get out.
They came out singing Yellow Submarine.
Well, I bet some of them probably did, yeah.
Who's your favourite Beatle then?
Well, I never like to discriminate between John Lennon and Paul McCartney, so I always say Lennon-McCartney, because all the songs have the Lennon-McCartney title.
But who was the best of Lennon?
John Lennon. John Lennon was the ultimate popper. John Lennon.
I would go McCartney. I mean, much as I love Lennon, don't get me wrong, but I think the 2 of them needed each other, salt and pepper.
Totally.
But I think that McCartney, if you look at his work in Wings and post-Beatles, the songwriting on that guy, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but you have to say about Lennon. Lennon broke the mold on songwriting when he wrote and recorded Strawberry Fields. Within the Beatles and Imagine outside of the Beatles. I totally agree with you. But they just changed the world. It was black and white before the Beatles merged, and now it's Technicolor, and it's all down to the Beatles.
But Poppy's a new generation that's coming on.
I do like the Beatles. I listen to the Beatles.
Yeah, but if you're saying that like you like, cheese sandwiches or something, it's not.
But I like cheese sandwiches, Levi.
All right, we mustn't ask Mike any more questions about the Beatles. Let's make a note of that. Today, Court of Appeal judges will rule on Shamima Begum's appeal against the removal of her UK citizenship. She joined Islamic State as a teenager. There she is now. Her lawyers have argued the then Home Secretary Sajid Javid failed to consider whether she was groomed and trafficked. What do you think about this one, Poppy?
Well, she was absolutely groomed and trafficked. She was 15 years old.
So you would restore her passport?
I totally would. I think when they revoked her citizenship, they were making it was to gain political points. She was 15. Hundreds of people had left Britain to join ISIS, and I think they've only allowed 2 back. And they made an example of her, and I I genuinely do believe that she was groomed in traffic, and it was wrong.
Where were you on this?
I would let her back in the country. It's too dangerous. If there's a
Dangerous for what reason, though?
well, if there's a 1% chance that she brings back any of the connections that she's had in the years where she's been living
She's
out
stuck
in the
in a
Middle East.
refugee camp. What connections could she possibly have?
You say that, but Sajid David, it was the Home Secretary when he made the order, and since then he said, I know things other people don't know about this case, and therefore my ruling is she should never be able to come back.
People always say that.
Which means...
So he made an example of a 15-year-old girl to prove...
She's not 15 now. She was 15 when she went, and she grew up there into adulthood.
She lost 3 children. The trauma
I
that
feel
she
very
suffered,
sorry for her.
She's been trafficked.
Well, you say she's been trafficked. I mean, there's not a great deal of evidence she was trafficked. She went voluntarily.
All right. We'll put. I think what we don't have long. We've got. I reckon 35 minutes, and then we'll find out whether she's getting her passport restored. So it's a big old decision today. After the break, though, we're asking if migration is to blame for the housing crisis. Tory MP, former Levelling Up Minister Neil O'Brien says the UK's post-Brexit migration system is making our housing crisis into a disaster. We'd love your thoughts. 020 782 2222 is the number. Which trilogy has won the most Best Picture Oscars? Which trilogy? Godfather, Lord of the Rings, Mad Max? Answer coming.